Bungie have dropped the long-awaited Sandbox changes that are coming up in Beyond Light, and it certainly looks like there's going to be a few changes coming that's going to mix up the Sandbox in a really big way. We've got news on hand cannons, sniper rifles, auto rifles, scout rifles and rocket launchers, as well as some general updates in the wider Sandbox. So the following is a look at the Sandbox changes coming in Destiny 2 Beyond Light. And don't forget, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button down below for all the latest Destiny 2 content and turn on notifications by hitting that bell. And before we get into the video today, I wanted to let you know about some new merch I've launched. There's a bunch of t-shirts, hoodies, socks, stickers and masks available. So there is a custom pixel art logo design for This Week in Video Games, plus a glitched out version of the logo too. All are available in a range of colours and sizes, and if you enjoy This Week in Video Games content and want to support the channel, then consider buying some of the merch. So the link's down below in the description, but now let's get back to the video. So if you want to skip ahead to my thoughts on the Sandbox changes, click on the timestamps down below. But first of all, let's get into the details from Bungie. So for those who don't have much knowledge about the Sandbox, each weapon has a specific frame that is also tied to its associated rate of fire. And we have included both of these for a bit of clarity, as many players default to rate of fire when talking about various weapons. As an example, aggressive hand cannons currently have a rate of fire of 110 rounds per minute. So first up, let's have a look at the hand cannon changes. So Bungie go on to say, we are making changes to give hand cannon subfamilies more diversity and more reasons to use each. So first of all, let's have a look at the aggressive frames. So increased rate of fire from 110 to 120, and broke out aggressive hand cannons allowing custom tuning of stats, e.g. damage fall off for 100 range in this subfamily now starts at 32 meters. Next up, we've got adaptive and precision frame. So range stat now has more impact on minimum damage fall off range for both archetypes. Damage fall off for 100 range now starts at 25 meters, and that previously was 20 meters. So looking closer at precision hand cannons, that's 180 rate of fire, the magazine scaled up by 37%, and also this affects exotics with that rate of fire. Next up, we got lightweight, and they have been folded into adaptive. So moved all lightweight hand cannons 150 rate of fire to the adaptive subfamily, and that is the 140 rate of fire. And that includes Luna's Howl and the Not Forgotten. One exotic hand cannon will retain 150 rate of fire, and they're not going to leave it to speculation. It's beautiful, it does solar damage, it makes enemies explode, it is Sunshot. So at this time, lightweight 150 rate of fire hand cannons represent the majority of hand cannon usage in the Crucible. While we experimented with many different ways to even out lightweights and adaptives, lightweight hand cannons consistently retained faster time to kill, and as such we opted to equalise their rate of fire. We selected 140 rate of fire as it's fairly balanced in the Crucible Sandbox, and it gives other weapon archetypes more time to breathe between shots, avoids an overabundance of hand cannons with faster TTK than other weapons, and pairs nicely with upcoming change to the 600 rate of fire auto rifles. More on that in a minute. Next up, we've got the sniper rifle changes, and Bungie go on to say, we wanted sniper rifles to feel powerful without being so easy to use that they dominate. Adjusted how aim assist is affected by sniper zoom level, and lower zoom scopes have less aim assist and higher zoom scopes have more. Scopes with around 50 zoom are unchanged. Lower zoom scopes have a large reduction in aim assist cone angle, and high zoom scopes have a small increase. Next up, let's check out the changes to auto rifles. So in Season of the Worthy, the adaptive archetype 600 rate of fire was given a buff. We're pulling that back a little to keep it in check with other auto rifle archetypes. So looking at the adaptive frame, the damage per bullet reduced from 15.75 to 14.25, and note, prior to Season of the Worthy, damage per bullet was 13.75. Next up, we got scout rifles. So scouts have a reasonable time to kill and can't be adjusted too much without making them dominate in the battlefield, so we're making them a little easier to use. Increased how much each point of the aim assist stat widens at the aim assist cone. At maximum, the aim assist cone is now 15% wider. Then we've got rocket launchers. So these heavy weapons currently have very low reserves, so we're adjusting that. We expect to take another look at rocket launchers in a future season and increase reserves by 1 or 2 rockets depending on the inventory stat. So that is the specific weapons, and we also have some general updates too. So the following is a list of surgical changes for select weapons based on player feedback. Some of these changes apply to weapons that are a little too far ahead of the other options, while others apply small buffs to increase the weapon's effectiveness. So first up, we've got the Outlaw perk. So the reload speed felt insufficient with certain subfamilies and combinations of rolls, e.g. aggressive hand cannons, and the increased reload stat bonus from plus 50 to plus 70. Next up, we've got Merciless, so increased inventory stat from 36 to 55, and that increases the reserve ammo. Now we've got Mountaintop, so we've had a ton of feedback that Mountaintop feels a little bit over the top in Crucible modes, and that little bit over the top is definitely an understatement. This pinnacle weapon has had ample time to shine, so we're taking it down a notch. So the specific pain points read: a one body shot with infinite range, quick and easy cleanup of wounded guardians even around corners, it deals high splash damage rewarding players for inaccuracy, and perfect in-air accuracy allows for airborne guardians to rain down death, and there's not much grounded guardians can do to respond. So here are the changes intended to address those points. Going to reduce the splash damage by 33%, increase impact damage such as the total damage is 5% lower than before. Reduce projectile velocity multiplier from the micro missile perk to 1.4 to 1.2, and that's going to be now 20% faster than other breach grenade launchers instead of 40%. And it's got reduced in-air accuracy, now has significant projectile error whilst in air, around 7 degrees without the Icarus grip mod, and substantially less with. Next up, we got a nerf to Falling Guillotine, so reduce heavy attack damage by about 24% to bring it in line with other swords. Note, Falling Guillotine is going to continue to be slightly above average, just not to the extent it is now. Next up, we've got some changes to Mida Multi-Tool and the Mida Mini-Tool. So Mida Mini-Tool, you move the Mida Synergy trait to the intrinsic, similar to how the Baroque version works. And the following perks have been added: Hipfire Grip and Kill Clip. Note, there is an issue with the masterwork on this weapon that prevents it from being upgraded, and this will be fixed in a later update. And another note that the gunsmith will begin selling a version of this weapon on November the 10th with no infusion cap. Next up, we've got Sturm and Drang. So on Drang, move the Together Forever trait to the intrinsic, similar to how the Baroque version works, and added the following perks. We've got Accurized Round and Moving Target, and there is an issue with the masterwork on this weapon that prevents it from being upgraded, and that is going to be fixed in a later update. And again, the gunsmith is going to begin selling a version of this weapon on November the 10th with no infusion cap. Next up, we've got Ruinous Effigy. First of all, looking at the transmutation spheres, reduce the damage of aerial melee attack by 25% and significantly reduce the damage of the drain effect on enemy combatants. Next up, we've got Arbalest, so no longer strikes shields multiple times, but its efficacy against shielded targets has been increased. And finally, we've got Jade Rabbit, so armor piercing rounds swap to high caliber rounds, and this fixes an issue that could prevent the exotic perk from triggering. So plenty of changes there coming up for Beyond Light, and as for my thoughts on the changes, well, here we go. And it seems an interesting take on 110 hand cannons moving to 120, but the jury is out and we're going to have to test them out there in the Crucible on November the 10th. 110s have felt pretty useless in PvP up until this point, with other archetypes dominating the field. 150s folded into 140s seems to make sense, although it would have been nice for the changes to go the other way, for example 140s folded into 150s. Thorn is definitely going to feel the change, and I'm not sure if it's going to be for the better. However, with Ace of Spades already being a 140, this may get a revival. With Sunshot being left as the only 150 in the game, we may be headed into a time where Sunshot is the dominant hand cannon in PvP. Personally, I love Sunshot, it's one of the best looking guns in the game. Snipers, they're going to be slightly more difficult to use for those low zoom scopes, but we're going to have to see what actual difference this makes to a seasoned veteran with a sniper rifle. The 600 auto rifle nerf was pretty much expected given the dominance of auto rifles in Season of Arrivals. We had a buff in Season of the Worthy, bringing Galliard 42, Gnawing Hunger, Saurus Regime and Hardlight up, breaking free of the spare rations and the Mindbenders combination, which had been superior for many months. Gnawing Hunger has been plentiful this season due to the ease of acquiring the gun and the ability to get an awesome roll 2 through the unbought engrams. That combined with the sheer power and damage of auto rifles in the Sandbox, something just definitely had to be done. Scout rifles have got an aim assist buff, but it remains to be seen if they can regain their place in PvP like they had in the first few months of Destiny 2 Year 1, when everyone was running around with Mida Multi-Tool and kind of sitting back at the back of the map. Rockets also appear to have a small buff, but again it doesn't really seem like much. In a way, I kind of miss the days when you'd scream if you got a drop of a certain rocket launcher in Destiny 1. It was just so damn powerful. This buff may help rockets, but I don't think they're going to be widely adopted, and this buff just feels a little bit meh to me with just seeing the numbers on the paper. But again, we're going to have to see them out there in the wild in the Crucible come Beyond Light. Outlaw and Merciless have got a small buff, and then we've got the mountaintop nerf that DMG hinted at a few twabs ago. Any nerf to the weapon is good, and I think it should be removed from the game entirely really. I'm not sure if this nerf goes far enough. The reduced in-air accuracy is good news, as you always have someone bouncing up and down in front of you, killing you with a mountaintop. Falling Guillotine got a massive nerf, which is a shame, but it has been broken a little bit for a while. This doesn't feel like a hugely devastating nerf though, it's still going to be better than all the swords in the game. Ruinous Effigy being nerfed is a strange decision, seeing as it's a fun and unique weapon in the first place. And then finally we got Arbalest and Jade Rabbit with a small buff too. I think the biggest talking point is going to be the 150s into the 140 hand cannon. The hand cannon situation as a whole is getting a mix up with the introduction of 120s, and we're just going to have to see how they perform. The auto rifle nerf made sense, but it was interesting to see nothing happening with shotguns or fusion rifles. Overall, this definitely was a balance, reining in some of the most dominant weapons, but maybe not enough done with Mountaintop. However, that one is going to be sunset, and we've got a whole bunch of new weapons to look forward to when Beyond Light drops on November the 10th. Let me know what you think of the Sandbox changes coming in Beyond Light. And that is it for this look at the Sandbox changes, and thank you so much for watching. For more Destiny 2 content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. If you want to join the community, check out the Discord link in the description, or you can follow me on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out these other videos on the channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.